How do you think you were affected growing up in a household with a parent who abused substances?
Well, I start crying. You turn it off.
Yeah.
I didn't have a childhood. Never knew my dad. And since my mom was an alcoholic and schizophrenic, when she was home, you might as well say the beatings were like torture. None of us got over it. Well, I know we grew up to be really angry to where it didn't matter if you died or not. And we never got over it. Well, I only seen from the outside looking in. Some of my friends had normal families, and I wanted that. But most of my friends, if you went to their house, they were dealing with the same stuff I was.
Yeah. Do you think that you have a fear of being abandoned due to
Yes. Well, there wasn't nowhere for you to go to tell somebody, because since my mom was schizophrenic, the family didn't want anything to do with you. Grandparents, cousins. So we were all shunned for that, and we don't have any family today. The thing I really try to do really hard, it's really hard for me, is not to commit suicide. I'm on medicine for it, and a lot of stuff I do, I don't care if I die.
And do you think that that derives from just kind of growing up with a
Yes.
crappy childhood?
Yes. And then I put part of that on my kids by not the beating, but the yelling.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a parent that abused substances, I would say, but I had a parent that grew up from the abuse of substances from their parent. And I would say it's kind of challenging at times. Without proper counseling, they're still stuck in a time frame of that abuse at times if there's a trigger. So it's hard at times because they see something that you're not seeing because their brain is just not functioning at a more mature level of the abuse that they instilled when they were younger. So depending upon whatever age you were at, there's times that your brain just doesn't fully develop past that. For like my case scenario, my parents didn't abuse the drugs and alcohol, but the effects from them trickled down to where it wasn't a very affectionate household, or there were just things that in my head, other kids around me seemed like they had normal homes. Mine wasn't necessarily. I mean, it was normal to me, but when you go to other people's houses, it's not normal, if that makes sense.
Do you think that it has made you hard on yourself due to not wanting to be a disappointment or cause problems to others?
I mean, I can give everything that I have, and basically my candles burn at both ends to where I emotionally aren't getting anything back, but yet I still give to a point where sometimes it feels like it's debilitating. I would say it takes longer for me to warm up to people to get to that point. It takes a minute. I just don't trust everybody that I'm around because I just don't. In some aspects, it makes me try to be a better parent for my children. There's definitely scenarios from when I grew up that I try to do differently. Being in a household where addiction has been an issue, that there are a lot of scenarios and times that the other people who are affected seem as if they are almost forgotten because they're not the ones that actually have the problem. So everybody's focused on a person who has the issue, and if anybody else has anything to say, it's almost as if they're the ones that they're being selfish because the focus isn't about them, it's about the other person. That's hard. I mean, that's super hard because you don't want to be that selfish person, and you don't want to seem like you're selfish, but at the same time, you're also going through something that's very hard as well. To watch somebody go downhill and then to be in the middle of it as well, it's very, it can be very lonely. Definitely don't try to hold it in because then it just makes you feel even that much more alone, honestly.
I know that I have dealt with a parent who abused substances from a very young age. I don't really remember when it started because I was so young, but up until now, I'm 20 years old and I am still experiencing the effects of what happened to me as as a child. Like growing up with that and then going to my friends' houses was always such a shock for me. That's so unfair. Like, why did they get a normal life? Why do I have to live the way that I'm living? Like, and it almost caused me to feel embarrassed and like I didn't want people to know what was going on in my life. So I didn't really ever speak on it for a really long time because it wasn't what was considered normal. I didn't really know why my parent abused substances the way they did, but it somehow did always feel like maybe a part of it was my fault. When you feel like things are your fault when they really aren't, that made me very hard on myself and very like, I don't want to go down that route, so I am going to be extra hard on myself, but at the same time I wasn't realizing that I was causing myself more stress in the long run. I have trust issues really bad, and this is probably like one of the biggest factors that does affect me. As a child, the first relationship that you do develop is with your parents, and when you're developing a relationship with a parent with substance abuse, you're constantly being let down. I would say that I do try to avoid conflict at all costs, and the reason I'd say that is because when you are growing up with a parent that has substance abuse issues, they can be really mean. I know for me, my parent, he would get into moods where it was like you didn't want to cross his path, and if you did, like it was never good. So I think that kind of resulted in me always trying to resolve things when they come my way. Not everybody's like that, so when I experience conflict now, it kind of really puts me into a bad headspace because I'm just always thinking what the worst thing could possibly happen, and my brain kind of convinces me that that's actually going to be true. Growing up with a parent that abuses substances, it definitely creates a fear of being abandoned because I never knew if my parent was going to come home or if, you know, he'd go missing for days at a time and I didn't know if he was okay. So yeah, I'd say with all my relationships, I am very scared that I'm just gonna lose everybody because of the one relationship that, you know, you don't think that you are gonna lose was always 50-50, like on the line, and I never knew if that relationship with my parent was gonna be ripped away from me really fast. And at the end of the day, I don't try to blame that person for that. I know that that stems from like generational problems, and it's really hard to break that cycle. So I just try to be really understanding of that. But I do just want to give everybody hope out there that has experienced something like this, because it does get better. And even if that person doesn't heal from whatever they're going through, you can.